Okay, you can begin when you are ready.
恭敬大德圣听，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐。速证无生 Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati sanmiao sanputoche. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa. 百千万劫难遭遇，我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Hello everyone, welcome to class 18, which will be doing something slightly different today. We'll be concentrating on the 8 precepts, and most of them, our regulars are not here because of the Fayan Fa Hui, the Avatamsaka Sutra session that's ongoing in Malaysia right now. So as usual, I'm going to invite everyone to put your palms together and join me in reciting Medicine Master Buddha's name. I'm going to try the tune today. There's only a slight hiccup, which I'm not quite sure how to begin, but hopefully I'll get it right. Now, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha Namo, 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 quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. Okay, sorry for how I finish. Baby steps, step by step. Okay, welcome everyone, class 18. Today, as discussed last week, we're going to do the 8 precepts, and there is a lot to cover. I was a bit surprised when I was doing my research. There's quite a lot when it comes to the 8 precepts. Before we begin, I would like to see if anyone has any questions or any anything you want to share regarding the 8 precepts or from previous classes, or questions that you might have, or anything you want clarified, not like a real question, but something you're not quite sure of, but you're not sure how to ask. Anyone? Well, if you think of any, just type it into the chat box, please. Excuse me while I get some water down and mute my mic. Okay, welcome everyone. I see Eiling online. We have Chan Kwan Hong, we have Gran, Jane, we have Jenny, we have Julie, Karen, 2 Karens, okay, 2 devices. We have Liao Xiu Xiu, we have Melinda, we have Ron, Tan, and Leonie. Okay, so 8 precepts. Let me bring up the text. 8 precepts on screen notes. Okay, 8 precepts. The 8 precepts are also known as Pakwan Chai, or the 8 restrictions, or the 8 precepts, or in Pali and Sanskrit is also known as the Uposatha, meaning to abide in a state of fasting or abstinence. Meaning to abide means like to dwell, to live. Yeah, to live in a state of fasting or abstinence. What are the 8 precepts? Okay, let me copy and paste onto the screen. Okay, let me increase the screen size, document size. Okay, what are the 8 precepts? Okay, you have the 5 precepts, which is the standard refraining from killing or harming, refraining or no stealing. I should use the word refrain rather than no. No sounds a bit harsh, like a law. You know, when you break the law, you get punished. But precepts are actually meant to help us become better step by step, to guide us. Okay, so just looking at the notes on the screen, we have no killing or no harming, no stealing, meaning not taking what is not given, no sexual misconduct, meaning you respect your partner if you are in a relationship, or if you are not in a relationship, you respect the relationship of other people. And if you want to go into how the Buddha actually defines it, I don't have the exact word, but the Buddha says if the person belongs to someone else, meaning is someone's daughter, son, someone's mother or father, someone who has relations like cousins, or someone who say like say if you don't have direct family but staying with a family who has adopted you, that you know belong to someone. In other words, someone who has people who care for them. So if anything happens to them, other people will feel really bad or sad, or you cause anger, or you give them affliction. So no sexual misconduct with these people. Number 4, no lying. No lying includes harsh speech, not saying what is not true, what do you call it, two-faced, speech that causes people to fight with one another, and then gossiping, speech that, including idle speech, like just if you have nothing better to say, you just talk about nonsense and you're just joking around, that's included as well. And then number 5 is no intoxicants, anything that causes you to lose concentration. So that's number 5. And then we have 3 additional that makes up the 8 precepts. What are they? Okay, first one is no high. Sometimes they say no, they include the word large as well. Okay, high, large, or luxurious bed. Okay, what constitutes a high bed? It is 20 inches high. So good luck to all of you was going to take the 8 precepts, because the last time I checked, most modern beds were higher than 20 inches. 20 inches is what, that's less than 2 feet. Yeah, so 20 inches high. Large can also mean like a double bed, meaning the implication is that when you take the 8 precepts, you try to sleep alone instead of sleeping with your partner in bed. Okay, so there's no high, large, or luxurious bed. And then depending on how much time we have and questions, we could go into real detail about what makes a luxurious bed. Okay, but for now, you just leave it to your own interpretation. Number 7, no makeup, perfume, which means adornments. Okay, let me put it down. Okay, so no adornments, meaning this is to how you say, to alert you to the things that you do when you want to look attractive and attract people. Okay, so so certain things, like say if you need to put powder on your face because it's medicinal and you have a legitimate medical reason to do so, although it might make you look good, but that's not your intention, it is allowable. Okay, so precept number 7 also includes entertainment, song and dancing, things like that. So in modern in a modern interpretation, that would include movies, listening to music through your phone or through headphones, watching TV, things like that, going to the cinema, although we can't really do that right now because of COVID-19. And then number 8 means no eating at improper times. What is a proper time? Okay, proper time is from dawn to noon. So meaning you can only eat from dawn to noon. It doesn't mean one meal. Okay, it doesn't mean one meal, meaning you can actually have 2 meals or more. Although once you understand what this precept is trying to do, you will refrain from eating too much. When to know when you can begin to eat? When does dawn begin? In the Vinaya means the collection of precepts as or moral conduct as laid out by the Buddha. It is said that through natural light, if you say, like, if you go out from your house in the morning and you can see the lines on the palm of your hand, that means it is dawn. All right, so when you go out of your house and you can see the lines on the palm of your hand, you can start to eat. And then once it is noon, strictly speaking 12 o'clock, but usually in Mahayana circles we just say lunch. Once you eaten your lunch, then that's it, that's your last meal for the day. Okay, and then when are the vegetarian precepts normally held? Well, if you go to a Chinese Mahayana temple, they are usually transmitted on the first day of an assembly or session. So traditionally, say in the Theravada tradition, there are certain days where lay people, they call it Uposatha days, where sometimes they go, like the full moon days, where they go and join the monks for the whole night, and they actually stay in the temple for the whole night. So they observe the 8 precepts during those times. Then for some of you who have taken the Bodhisattva precepts, you'll know that you hold it on the 8, 14, 15, 23rd, 29th, and the 30th days of the lunar calendar. Other days when you hold the 8 precepts, you can actually hold the 8 precepts whenever you wish. And or if you come to the monastery where it is not officially, where it is transmitted by a monastic, then you hold it for 1 day and 1 night for that day that you receive the precepts, which is normally transmitted in the morning. Okay, let's see. Okay, what are the purpose of the precepts? Okay, if you look back at your screen, I'm going to highlight the first 5. Okay, no killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. The purpose of the 8 precepts is twofold. Okay, so what's the first one? The first one is ethical, and that has to do with the 5 precepts. What does ethical mean? It means you become mindful on what might be considered impure or immoral actions, meaning actions that are harmful to yourself as well as others. So this would include these 5 precepts. So it is a way of regulating your thoughts, your actions, and your speech in such a way that you do not cause afflictions or suffering to not just yourself but to other living beings. So remember when a few classes ago, I think in the beginning, I think it was class number 7, I was told, I spoke about how I spoke about my experience in holding the 5 precepts. In the beginning, I just thought about it was a very selfish point of view, and I was only concerned with holding it for my own self benefits. But in reality, the precepts I held, when do you see the precepts being manifest? When you deal with people, meaning in your relationships. So I realized that a better way of looking at the precepts was not from a selfish point of view, but from the point of view of caring from the point of view about the people that you truly care for. So I gave the example, and I like using this example because I use it on children who are 10 to 12 years old when they come to Berkeley Monastery. We have a middle school, Piedmont Middle School, that comes. There's about 300 of them that come, and they get it. All of them seem to understand what I mean when I ask them. I say, think of all the people that you really care for in your life. And I ask them, who might they be? And then they will say, oh, my mom, my dad, my parents. And some will say my grandparents. Some will say their pets. Then I say, how about your brothers and sisters? Then you get a few yes, you get a few no, because sometimes they get bullied. And I ask them, I say, okay, now as these people that you care for, when they go through life, imagine your younger brother as he goes through life, do you always want him to meet people who will never harm him, so that everywhere he goes he's always safe? And they say, yes, of course. And I ask them, as they go through life, the people that they care for, do you always want them to meet people who are trustworthy, so that everything they hear, they can trust? They won't be told lies, they won't be cheated. And they say yes. And then also their things won't be taken away from them. And they say yes. So I go through the list with them, and then the 5 precepts start to make sense, especially for college students. A lot of the questions that we get from the students who are about to go to college is that they want to hold the 5 precepts, but they don't really know how to explain what they're doing to people. Why? Because the common way of explaining the 5 precepts is about yourself. It's not about anyone else. But the moment you frame it in a different way, the moment you frame it it's because of your regard for the people around you, then even if people don't fully agree with the philosophy, they cannot, they might find you weird. I can't say they don't fully agree with the philosophy. They might still find you weird, because it is kind of weird to hold 5 precepts. But they can't say that you're doing anything wrong or that you're doing anything selfish. And in fact, they might learn to, their regard for you might increase. Yeah. Okay, so the 5 precepts, okay, it's about abstaining from actions that will cause affliction to both yourself and the people. So we call that ethical. All right. And then the second component, so the first component is ethical. Second component that I've highlighted in front of you is spiritual. So these three precepts, the no high luxurious bed, no makeup, perfume, and then no eating in proper times, is meant to create a system or the conditions of self-discipline, which then acts as a foundation for you to see if you can realize higher states of concentration through a practice of self-meditation. Yeah. So that's the second purpose of the 8 precepts. So there's ethical, which is the first 5. You can say that it's preventive. Preventive of what? Future suffering and affliction. Okay. And then the second component is the spiritual component, which is then you take the you take the conditions created by the 5 precepts, and then you further that with another set of conditions that makes it favorable for you to practice. Okay. And then the other benefit of the 8 precepts is that it gives you a taste of living as a monastic. Okay, so that's why it is, and it's not easy. I remember when I was a lay person. Oh, actually, let me see who's online with us right now, because some of them. All right. When I was a lay person, okay, we have a question. I should write this down because I tend to forget. Program. Okay. Chat. There's a question for sure. If others are listening to music or watching video and we hear in passing or see by accident but not intentionally, is this breaking the precept or not being pure? Okay. We can, if we have enough time, we can go through what constitutes breaking a precept. I have shared the link with you in the WhatsApp group, but that was, I think, last week. So if we don't have enough time today, I will send the link again, and then you can investigate it yourself. Okay. So I was going to say my own experience in the 8 precepts and living in a temple, which was not easy. Many years ago, the what was it? The not Fa Yen temple. What's the name of the nunnery that we have that's no longer there? That the nuns have moved to Fa Yen. Sian Tong, yes, Sian Tong. We used to have a branch in Malaysia called Sian Tong, and that was actually the first DRBA temple that I went to. And they had a weekend program. You would go, my memory is hazy, I think you would go on a Friday night, and then you would stay 2 nights, and then go back on a Sunday. Yeah. So you would spend the whole of Saturday there. Either that, or I think you would start very early morning on Saturday morning. I'm not quite sure. That's why I'm looking to see. Is anyone online who was part of that program? I know Miss Leong Waishin was there. I remember because she told me that I was very arrogant when I was in that program before. But she's not with us right now because she's joining the Huayan Fa Hui. Okay, digression. Okay, what are the benefits? Okay, so we talked about the objectives, or the purpose of the 5 precepts. What are the benefits? Well, by holding the 8 precepts, you get to understand yourself better. Yeah. Actually, when you hold the 8 precepts, you live like how the arhats do. And if you think about it, that's really amazing. That in this time and day, you can actually live a lifestyle in your own house, like how the arhats how you say, you can live an arahant like lifestyle right in your own house and develop compassion, purity, and wisdom. Okay, so one of the benefits is this is a way to see how far you can discipline yourself. Okay, so that's one benefit. Okay, and this is really it's really amazing. If you don't really think about it, you just gloss it over, but if you do, it's not easy to be able to live an arahant like life. Yeah. Second benefit is you find out in your mind what is the extent of wholesome states that you have. All right, compared to what? Compared to your unwholesome desires that are based on greed, anger, and delusion. I remember not eating dinner, trying out not eating dinner, and oh my, it was not easy at all. Yeah, both physically as well as mentally. So the second benefit of holding the 8 precepts is you can see your progress on the path. Right there in front of you. You can't hide. It's just you and your mind and your body too. Yeah. So holding 8 precepts gives you a chance to find out about this. Yeah. The other benefit that you will have is you discover your ability to meditate, or you learn how to meditate, or you apply yourself and you practice. And as you do that, you may just find that the so-called pleasures and distractions that are offered by this world can't hold a candle to what it means to have, to what it feels like to have a calm and peaceful mind. And then you start getting self-mastery over yourself instead of just giving in to things that you always thought you needed in order to get by life, or in order to feel like you are you, or feel complete. Yeah. So I'm going to, the next one, I am going to copy and paste onto the screen. Okay, I'm going to erase this weekend program. Oh. Okay, so this is taken from a text called the Endowment of the Buddhist Laity, or also known as Upasaka Jala Namkara. Okay, so what it says about the precepts or moral conduct, also known as sila in Pali and Sanskrit. Okay, it says it is a great crossbar preventing entrance into the 4 woeful states. Okay, it prevents entrance into 4 woeful states. It is a tree of the gods fulfilling all wishes. It is an autumnal, how you pronounce that? Autumnal sun, dispelling the miserable darkness. A seedbed in which wholesome dharmas grow. An adamantine casket full of various sorts of gems, treasure. A ladder ascending to the palaces of the heavenly worlds, that's another benefit. A bubbling source from which the waters of loving kindness flow. And this is important because this tells you the kind of mind and heart that you want when you hold the precepts. You don't want a heart of fear, or a heart that's really tough, like it's really hard, like, you know, I'm hitting my table right now, it's made from wood, it's really hard. You don't want that. You want soft, loving kindness. Okay. A ship to cross over the sea of all fears. It is a great bridge to pass over the ocean of wandering on, meaning what happens when this body ends. A great cloud cooling the blaze of birth, decay, and death. The one vehicle for entering the city of Nirvana. Check that out. All this from just the precepts. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions, reflections at the moment? Yes, no? No, every time I ask. Okay. do you have to take the precepts? Okay, let me see. All right, I've been practicing 6 vegetarian days a month since January 20th. The first few times was really feeling uncomfortable. Now already adapted to it. This is to get for. Are you preparing, Melinda, for taking the lay Bodhisattva precepts next year? Is that what you're trying to say? You want to share your experience in not eating dinner for so long, or for so many days?
Master,
Yes.
Amitabha.
Amitabha. How has it been? Yes.
Because we used to eat dinner so many years, so suddenly to cut off dinner, the first few times you really feel uncomfortable because especially at home when you reach the food so easily. So I think after 3 times should be okay already. Now, in fact, every night, let's say we have dinner also, it shouldn't be a problem. Thank you, Amitabha.
Anyone else has been observing or any thoughts to share about not eating afternoon? Anyone?
Hi, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, Hilda.
Hi. Well, I'm sorry I came late, but I want to say that whenever I, because I work and I don't eat at lunch, I don't eat at work, only I snack stuff, so I have to eat dinner. But whenever I have the chance to stay at home, I try, and I try not to go over maybe 1 or 2 o'clock p.m. But what I feel is that whenever I do that, I really use that opportunity to see the mind trying to go out and seek for something, and how I indulge myself when I am not doing the restriction, just as an exercise to see how the mind goes out, and how this helps to turn the mind inwards. Basically, that's all.
Very good. Yeah. Anyone else?
Amitabha Fashil.
Yes,
Maybe
Tan.
to lessen our greed, or also to help us cultivate better with not falling asleep when eat too full as well.
You mean as to why we don't eat afternoon?
Yeah. One is to lessen our greed. I think I'm just guessing, Fashil. So maybe to lessen our greed, for food, and secondly, maybe in cultivation aspect is also is more lighter. I'm not sure.
Yes, I think everything that you said is correct. There are a lot of benefits to those, and there's one which I found out why the Buddha doesn't eat afternoon. The Buddha only takes 1 meal, is also because of a lot of the living beings that are around us that we can't see, and like hungry ghosts, and they are unable to eat. So out of compassion for them as well. Yeah. Okay. So Tan, you have asked a question. You say, what are the 4 woeful paths? Yeah, when I was reading that, I was trying to recall. I think there's 2 things: 4 woeful states, and then there's 4 woeful paths. I'll answer the path one because I can get 3 of the 4 right. I'm not sure about the state. So I know like the hell realm, the animal realm, the ghost realm. Like I said, I can get 3 or 4. So if anyone knows what the 4 woeful paths are. Please help me complete the fourth one. Okay, carrying on. Anyone else?
Oh, I'm for Fashi. I think
Yes.
I mistyped the past. It's actually state.
States. Okay, I can look that up. All right, I'll
Oh.
look up what are the four woeful states, and then
Thank you, Fashi.
yeah, get back to you on that. Okay, so question: do you need a monk to get the 8 precepts? Or monastic? Sorry, do you need a monastic? Okay, Randy says yes. Jane says yes. And I've got the fourth woeful path, which is Asura. Thank you, Gwen. Okay, Hilda says yes. You are all wrong. Okay, these are the ways that you can take the 8 precepts. Okay, you could. Okay, if you're not at the monastery. Okay, if you're at the monastery, then you go to a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni, a monk or a nun, and you request the 8 precepts, or you join when they are being transmitted, like how we're going to do next week. But if you are not in a monastery, well, one thing you could do is you could invite a monk to your home. Okay, you can, or a nun. All right, but if that is not possible, you can actually request the 8 precepts from a lay person. Okay, a layman or a laywoman who knows the 10 precepts well, meaning someone who has held the 10 precepts for a long time, and their conduct reflects that. Okay, so you can actually request it from a layperson who has ideally should be under the 10 precepts. Okay, and if there is absolutely nobody, okay, meaning you really have no, you can't find it, you can undertake the precepts by yourself. But it's not a case of you transmitting the precepts to yourself. You request it from the Buddha. Yeah, and what you do is you recite the Buddha's name 3 times, and then you recite the 3 refuges, and then you can either recite your intention to take the 8 precepts one by one, or if this is something that you have done many times before and you're familiar with what you are doing, you can actually just say you intend to take the whole cluster of 8 precepts together. Yeah, so no points to the 3 of you, sorry, but thank you for trying. Yes, thank you very much for trying. Okay. Okay, we've talked about what Bodhidharma has to say about holding the precepts. Do you all, anyone remember and want to share? Yes? No? Okay, before I go there, I just wanted to inform everyone that we have 2 questions so far regarding, one is a time difference, and the second question is regarding precept substance and contemplating of receiving the precept substance. So I'm going to allocate some time to talk about that. And I just realized we are quickly running out of time. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste Bodhidharma, and then we just read it because we have talked about it before in fairly great detail. So this is just to refresh everyone's memory. Okay, Bodhidharma. What has Bodhidharma have to say? Okay. Okay. Bodhidharma talks about observing a fast, and this has to do with the 8 precepts. It says it's useless unless you understand what this really means. To fast means to regulate your body and mind so that they are not distracted or disturbed. And to observe means to uphold the rules of discipline according to the Dharma. So he's talking about the 8 precepts. Fasting means guarding against the 6 attractions on the outside and the 3 poisons on the inside, and striving through contemplation to purify your body and mind. Okay. this one. Fasting means guarding against the 6 attractions on the outside and the 3 poisons on the inside. What are the 6 attractions? The 6 attractions. The 6 attractions have to do with our 6 senses. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this so I don't lose my place, and I'm going to scroll up back to this. Okay, look at the last 3 precepts. All right. No high, large, luxurious bed. What has that to do? That has to do with our body, our propensity, or our habit of always wanting to be comfortable, or at the very least, our propensity to run away at the slightest hint of discomfort. Okay, so this is what this precept means. That's really important, because the whole, so far we have touched about mainly on the form of holding the precepts, but the intention or the spirit of the precepts, what it's trying to do, we talked about this as well, is to create a conducive environment for your practice. So if you're always looking to run away from discomfort, when you try to meditate, guess what happens? Sit longer than 10, 15, 20 minutes, and you will find that your body starts to shout. Your body gets uncomfortable, and that means that you want to move, you want to shift your weight, or you regret sitting on that spot and you want to change to a different spot, or have more cushion, or this or that, or whatever it is. That's what discomfort does. It irritates you and it pulls your mind away. So no high, large, luxurious bed means have patience with discomfort. Test yourself. Just bring your mind back to your meditation topic, or reciting the Buddha, or reciting a mantra, and see how your concentration can fare. Alright, so that has to do with the body. Okay, what other senses do we have? We have our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and then the mind, right? So no makeup, perfume, entertainment, song and dance, that includes our eyes, watching entertainment, ears for listening to songs, eyes, ears, like perfume has to do with the nose, smells, okay, going after pleasant smells, eyes, ears, nose, and then tongue, and then the mind as well, in terms of desire, wanting to make yourself look attractive, and then eating would be the tongue or the mouth. Okay, so Bodhidharma is talking about the 6 attractions. The 6 attractions are the 6 forms that correspond to our 6 senses. Okay, so now I'm going to scroll back down. Okay, and then 3 poisons on the inside. What that means, 3 poisons refers to greed or desire, refers to feelings of animosity, anger, hatred, for example, on the inside, and ignorance. Ignorance means not knowing the things that we don't. Yeah, we don't even know what we don't know. Okay, and then striving to contemplation to purify your body and mind. So this is what Bodhidharma says about what it means to hold a fast, and this is called the 8 fasting precepts. And then he goes further. He talks about fasting includes 5 kinds of food. Okay, what 5 kinds of food? Delight in the Dharma, that comes from acting in accordance with the Dharma. So the more you practice like the precepts, the more you understand how beneficial it is, and then there's a joy, a delight, because your life improves. People around you get happier, you get happier yourself. Number 2, you get harmony in meditation, harmony of body and mind that comes from seeing through subject and object. Number 3 is invocation, the invocation of Buddhas with both your mouth and your mind. This refers to Pure Land practice. 4th is resolution. to pursue virtue, whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. Okay, this has to do with precept substance too, number 4, and we'll come to that. And number 5 is liberation, the liberation of your mind from worldly contamination. This is if you sit long enough, or if you practice long enough, you hold the 5 precepts well, you use the remainder 3 precepts of the 8 precepts to create a positive conditions for your practice, then you might just see what it's like to have a quiet mind, a mind that's still, or better yet, your thoughts may just stop. Okay, and then he says these 5 are the foods of fasting, and this is where he gets a bit fierce. He says, unless a person eats these 5 pure foods, he is wrong to think he's fasting. Also, once you stop eating the food of delusion, if you touch it again, you break your fast, and once you break it, you reap no blessing from it. It says the world is full of deluded people who don't see this. They indulge their body and mind in all manner of evil. They give free rein to their passions and have no shame. And when they stop eating ordinary food, they call it fasting. How absurd. Well, count me as one of them, because I used to think that, fasting was all about worldly food, and I never knew that it could be so deep. Okay. I'll quickly go through, for those of you who want to know how a Bodhisattva would hold the precepts. Okay. Okay, this is taken from the Avatamsaka Sutra. Unfortunately, in my notes, I never put down exactly which part of the sutra I got this from. I hope I can find out. Okay, so I'm going to read this. I'm going to put my palms together because this is from the sutra. It says the Bodhisattva holds the precepts with equality. That is, he or she should represent all living beings in holding the precepts and transfer the merit and virtue from his or her own cultivation of precepts to all living beings. Okay, and I made a note here. No, don't do that. Which I'll come to later. In this way, he holds the precepts on behalf of all living beings. Okay. He does not hold it on account of fear, out of stupidity or doubt, or delusion, or out of a private quest for his own nirvana. The upholding of precepts is carried out only for the sake of all beings, for the sake of succeeding in the path of the Buddha, and for the sake of realizing the Dharma of all Buddhas. So remember when I talked about the 5 precepts? About how if we turn it around, have a different perspective, we are not just holding it for ourselves, but we hold it because we care for the people around us. And of course, the 5 precepts then force you to ask yourself, how come holding the 5 precepts does not come naturally for people that you don't really care for? And that's why it's not easy, right? Okay, so that gives you a taste of how a Bodhisattva holds the precepts. And as he holds the precepts, he transfers the merit and virtue to all living beings who do not have the opportunity to hold the precepts. So what does that mean? So this is where I have my side note here. When we do transference, because of the way our ceremonies are structured and for practical reasons, we do transference at the end of our fahui, of our events, of our meetings, of our discussions. Proper transference, your intention should already be there before you do it. You're already clear, like holding the precepts. Why you want to hold the precepts? So the Bodhisattva is really clear. I'm holding the precepts on behalf of living beings who are unable to hold the precepts. And then I'll transfer the merit and virtue to all living beings, so it is as if they are holding the precepts. So, which means that when the opportunity comes for you to take, for those of you who haven't taken the 5 precepts, or for those of you who are going to take the 8 precepts, if you have a question whether you need the 5 precepts to take the 8 precepts, no. You don't have to have taken the 5 precepts before to take the 8 precepts. set your intention before you take the precepts. That will make it a lot more meaningful. All right. Okay, now we go to precept substance. What is the precept substance? Before I go there, any questions? Okay, Ron, Fasha, thank you for explaining the deeper meaning for holding the 5 precepts. Okay, anyone else? Anything? Okay. Precept substance. Okay, precept substance is part of what is known as the 4 aspects of the precepts. What are the 4 aspects? Well, you have number 1, the precept dharma. What is the precept dharma? The precept dharma is what we are doing right now. The part of the precepts that's written down and explaining the precepts and the content of the precepts, that's known as the precept dharma. And then you come to precept substance. Depending on who you ask, the precept substance, also known as the essence of the precepts, can be very magical, or it can be very, very understandable, depending on who you ask. Okay, and we'll come to that. And then you have the precept conduct, which is just precepted behavior, the behavior that you exhibit when you hold the precepts. That's number 3. And then number 4, what's known as precept phenomenon, or other words, the level of how you hold the precepts. Are they being observed? Are they being broken? Or is it a light offense or a heavy offense? So academics like to, how do you say? Okay, I shouldn't say that. I was just going to. So if you really want to go deep into the precepts, you can investigate the 4 aspects of the precepts. Okay, so when people talk about the precept substance, usually they talk about what you have to do when you are receiving the precepts. So this is going to be on page 19 of the precept ritual handbook, that if you sign up, if you go to the Berkeley website, you can download the PDF in preparation for taking the precepts. What I was taught, and based on my research and understanding, is what you do is you visualize. First, you think about your resolve in undertaking the precepts. What is resolve? Well, how well you want to hold the precepts. Why are you holding the precepts? Okay, you think about that. And then you think about that with these precepts, you really want to cut off all evil. You want to do all wholesome deeds. And you're doing it so that you can save all living beings. Okay, you have to get that intentionality set. And then you visualize that because of all these good things that you are trying to do, it makes the earth like shake and tremble. And then because of this, there are clouds of merit that form and curl upward and fill up the whole sky above you. Okay, remember when I said this was the magical part of the precept substance? Yes. And then you visualize that these clouds extend across the whole sky or the entire Dharma realm, depending on how your mind works. And then they come together in a canopy of jewel, like how you say? I used to imagine it as clouds, and it comes above your head. And then you visualize this canopy that's made out of all the merit and virtue of precepted behavior descends and flows into your head, and it fills up your entire body. Okay, so that's the visualization thing that you're supposed to do on page 19. It's called proclaiming the substance of the precepts. That's after when you take the 3 refuges and before you take the 8 precepts. When I was a monk, to help me in my visualization, because I remember reading the Avatasaka Sutra, there's a chapter, I think 39, Samantabhadra. He entered a tower. Let me see, whose tower was it? I think it was Manjushri Bodhisattva's tower, and it was described in that tower there were like screens or like television screens showing all the different acts done, acts of purity done. That was my own contemplation. Basically what I wanted to do was to imagine myself throughout the Dharma realm, meaning everywhere I go, my behavior of body, speech and mind would always be pure acts or precepted acts. And I would imagine all this conduct or behavior then accumulating as the clouds. And this is all very personal. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do it. I'll explain the mechanism as best as I can understand after this, so you can figure out what is the best way to do your visualization. Okay, Ron says, Vasha, can you please say again where to get? Okay, go to Berkeley Buddhist Monastery when you want to register to take the 8 precepts on June 3rd, and there will be a PDF link that links you to the booklet for, it's called Ritual for Transmitting the 8 Fasting Precepts for Lay People. And then the part I'm talking about, precept substance, is on page 19. Okay, so other sources talk about the precept substance as referring to the 8 consciousness, which is where your seeds of cause and effect or karma are kept. Some monks refer to its essence or the precepts as nothing but the prevention of wrongdoing. And then there's a lot of discussion about how it is not form but yet there's substance, and it is a real thing. Okay, there's a description that says the precept substance is a power that discourages wrongdoing and is instilled within a person at the time of the ordination. And then there are some who believe that if you do not do the ceremony right, or if you are not there and you contemplate it wrongly, then you don't receive the precept substance. Personally, I don't really subscribe to that. Why? Because if you look at the explanation of the precept substance as explained by the 8 consciousness, and also in Theravada they refer to the essence of precepts as cetana or volition or intention. What's intention? Okay, it says intention is the driving force behind everything that we do, and intention is always present in the mind, meaning everything that we do, that's why everything that we do has karma attached to it, because everything that we do, we have intention. We may not be aware of our intentions, but nonetheless it is still there. Okay, so not being aware of your intention doesn't mean that you're not creating any karma. It just means that you are just ignorant of your own mind. I personally feel, and this is my own interpretation, that the best way to understand what the precept substance is, if you want to do the contemplation right, about the clouds accumulating, is in cause and effect. And when we talk about seeds within the 8 consciousness, when we create seeds through our intentional or our volitional thoughts or actions, the seeds don't just appear, are created in the 8 consciousness, but the seeds have a way of perfuming the seeds around them. So meaning that how you say perfuming, like recently we had a lot of bananas at Berkeley Monastery and they were turning bad, so JinHe asked me to make banana cake because it's really simple to make. So I put in some spices like cinnamon and allspice, and just a bit is enough, and like maybe half a teaspoon, and that is enough to infuse the entire cake with the smell of cinnamon. So you can think of the effect of perfuming in that way. So some things are really, really hard to do. For example, like taking the Bodhisattva precepts, the lay Bodhisattva precepts, is not an easy thing to do for most people. For some people, it's really easy. For some people, they have to think a long, long time. Okay, I'm aware that I am above time, but I'm just going to take just the extra few minutes because I think it's worth explaining this. They say that when you take the Bodhisattva precepts, you end up taking the Bodhisattva precepts life after life. I think it's because they're not easy. It's not easy to decide to actually take and then uphold the Bodhisattva precepts. But if you can, because it's not easy and you put so much thought and intention and effort into it, the perfuming that happens is really strong. So although we die and we are reborn again and we forget everything, the perfuming is so strong that the habit energy is there. So whenever a seed that's being perfumed by your very act of taking the Bodhisattva precepts has a chance to come up, then at that time when you decide to take the Bodhisattva precepts again, although you don't remember before, it becomes easier. And then the perfuming happens again. And then over lifetimes, it becomes easier and easier to make that decision to take the Bodhisattva precepts. So I state again, it is my personal belief that what you're doing when you're contemplating about the precept substance coming into you is you are creating a really, really strong intention about how you intend to hold the precepts, to what extent. And the stronger your ability to see yourself doing it, the stronger the perfuming. And the stronger the perfuming, well, it becomes easier to hold the precepts. I don't have time to go into how seeds arise, and maybe I'll do that in the next class when we talk about vows, because this is the same thing as vows. Taking the precepts, 8 precepts, 5 precepts, Bodhisattva precepts, is the same mechanism that happens in the mind that when you make a vow. You can look at a vow as a goalpost to stop impure thoughts or to transform thoughts that pass. When they pass through the goalpost, they become pure, they change your conduct. So that's the power of a vow, it transforms you. So when you are really, really sincere and you put a lot of thought into it and you contemplate the precept substance coming into you, that's what's happening. And the stronger you do it, the better you do it, or you get better with practice, then you will find that after taking the precepts, it's easier to hold the precept because you become a lot more mindful. You can catch those unprecepted behaviors, thoughts, and transform them. I hope that makes sense to people who are listening. Okay. So Sharon says, Fasha, please resend the YouTube link to last Sunday's class. Okay, I'll do that on WhatsApp. And Ron says, is taking the Bodhisattva precept so in the next life you get to be a Buddhist again? Is this proper intention? Yes, that would be one intention. Yeah. So I would really advise all of you to spend some time thinking about this whole precept substance thing. I'll just run through it again. Okay, so what you do first is you really examine your resolve in wanting to take the precepts. Okay, and do it in the Mahayana style, which is you want to cut off all unwholesome thoughts and actions. You want to foster all good thoughts and actions. And the reason you're doing it is so that you can save living beings and yourself. All right, you have that resolve strongly in your mind, and then think about how all these wholesome deeds that you are enabling yourself, giving yourself the power to do so. And this is where your powers of imagination come in. All this form above you, and go big. Think of all these acts and thoughts filling up the entire sky, the entire Dharma realm, and then they accumulate above you, and then they just flow into you through your head. Okay, there's no right way or wrong way of doing it. Don't make it a superstition, as in, oh, if you do it wrong, then no, don't worry about it. If you think you did it wrongly or you didn't do it enough to satisfy yourself, then continue doing it even after the ceremony ends. On the next day, it's fine. Okay, precepts are meant to help you. They're meant to encourage you. Okay, there's nothing in precepts that's meant to punish people. Okay. Oh yes, the other question, which is the time difference. Okay, thank you, Melinda, for talking about the time difference. Okay. Again, like I said, precepts, we are doing this to help living beings. Okay, you're doing this to help yourself and to help living beings. All right. So, if we, during the time that we are going to transmit the precepts, and it is at night for you, or it is afternoon for you, or something, you can decide. So let's say 8 a.m. in California. What time is it in Malaysia? Has anyone found out what time are the precepts happening in Malaysia? Is it 11 p.m. or something?
Yes, Pastor, it's 11 p.m.
11 p.m. Okay, then you can start holding the precepts the next day if you want, or you can hold the precepts on the day itself, starting from the morning, and then just see the look at the, when we transmit the precepts as a formality. Okay, so like you already graduate in the morning when you start taking the precepts yourself, and then at night at 11 p.m. is when you get your certificate. All right, think about it that way. Okay, we have to be skillful because of the time difference. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. And if you fail, well, there's always the next day, right? You can start all over again. All right. Okay, we have to stop. It's already 6:10. So, okay, Sharon asks, is taking the 8 precepts only for one day? Traditionally, we transmit it for 1 day and 1 night. But as you are taking the precepts, you set your intention. Some people, if they are staying in a temple for 7 days during a session, they can choose to take it during the whole 7 days. At home, you can decide for yourself what's doable. Yeah, if you're not sure, choose a time frame. If you want to do more than 1 day but you're not sure if you can last, choose a time frame that you think might be suitable, or try 1 day 1 night, and then you can extend it if you want. Yeah. I was going to talk about being kind to yourself, have patience. If you haven't gone without dinner before, what are the things that you can do? If people are interested, I can share it in WhatsApp. But just remember this: the precepts are meant to help you. They're meant to help you along the path, and not to create fear. Okay, and remember, when you take the 8 precepts, you're creating the conditions to practice. Okay, not just to hold it like strictly with your body and your mouth, but neglecting the spiritual side. All right. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put my palms together and dedicate merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Alright, thank you everyone, and also for your patience for me being over time, and see you next week. Amitofo.